gotta get your brain right if you're trying to make $1 million. If you ain't gonna do it for yourself, then do it for your mama. Only stay surrounded by them people if you know they solid. Elevate your hustle up today to double up your profit. Trying to learn some game, Xavier gonna talk about it. No Deanna speak that that everybody vouching. Ain't no more excuses valid. Get up off the couch and get up in your bag. To your bank account, need an accountant.
This episode is also sponsored by Masterworks. There's a new app billionaires use to invest in a new $1.7 trillion asset. It's one that 99% of investors have never heard of. A market whose volume has grown 2,700% and has historically outperformed the S&P 500 while having virtually zero correlation to equities. Spoiler, it's high-end art. This app lets you invest in fractional shares of art similar to a company stock. And art has been more than just something pretty to look at. For instance, a middle-class real estate developer flipped his Basquiat for 5,814% gross ROI. That turned $19,000 into a staggering $110,500,000. That's 407 times more than the S&P return, 581 times more than real estate return, and incalculably more than his savings account. But many top-tier paintings have price tags in the tens of hundreds of millions of dollars. Just imagine what building a diversified portfolio of them will cost. That amount of money can be tough to stomach, even for the richest on the earth. So Masterworks, the $1 billion fintech unicorn, came up with a solution. Why not just make them investable like a company stock? You simply buy shares in a multi-million-dollar painting, and when Masterworks sells it, they'll send your share of the profits. It's that easy. Early investors already got a 32% annualized return from a Banksy trade in 2020. Luckily, you don't need to be a billionaire to sign up. In fact, membership is free. Nationally, demand has been crazy. 230,000 members have signed up. Over $250 million have been invested with Masterworks, and the waitlist to join is growing day to day. Lucky for you, I'm friends with the Masterworks team, so they gave me a special link to skip to the front. Just go to masterworks.io/mindsets. That's masterworks.io/mindsets. See important disclosures at masterworks.io/disclaimer. And like as always, the link for that is in the description of this podcast episode. So if you want to start buying art and making money in the art industry, go to the link in this podcast description to start today. Welcome back to the greatest show on earth, the Millionaire Mindsets Podcast. I am your gracious host, Xavier, sitting there with the wonderful, the beautiful Deanna Kent. D, what's good?
What's up, Zay? How you feeling today?
I'm feeling great as usual, man. Because today we got another great legendary episode taking place. But before we get started, I would like to advise everyone to please like, subscribe, leave a 5-star review or a 5-star rating. Like I said, subscribe to the podcast. We need all those ratings, trying to get those ratings up. But before we get into it, Deanna, she's gonna go to our first sponsor.
Yes, sir. So you guys already know what time it is. It's time to get fit and get paid with the Lean in 6 Body Transformation Challenge, brought to you by our friends over at Commando Athletics. You know, here at the Millionaire Mindsets Podcast, we are firm believers that health is wealth, and this is the perfect opportunity for you to make your health a priority. This 6-week challenge comes with easy-to-follow workouts and meal plans so that you'll see results in no time. Minimum equipment is needed for both the home and gym option, and all fitness levels are welcome to enter. And the best part about this challenge is the top 5 performers will each get $1,000 for having the best 6-week transformation. All you have to do is sign up, and show out. The challenge starts October 11th and ends November 20th, and it'll only cost you $79 to enter. You can sign up today at www.commandoathletics.com, and the link to that is in the description.
And as always, like Deanna said, link in the description. So if you want to get started, make some money, get fit, go to the link in the description. But we're going to get straight into the podcast. So this episode, I'm really excited about this episode. We got a guy, he's killing it in real estate in Dallas. His name is Donovan Ruffin. So welcome to the show, bro. We're extremely excited to have you.
Happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me to come on.
Definitely, man. We had to. And what's so funny is I told him before we started, I'm like, I got a funny story to tell you, man. But so we moved out here in December. And then when I came out here, I would always hear your name, but I didn't know who you were. I always hear Donovan Ruffin. I'd be like, well, I keep hearing this name. I don't know who this guy is. And then my guy Austin Rutherford, he was out here, and he told me the same thing. And then somebody else, I can't remember who it was. Somebody else mentioned, I don't remember who it was. And then Blue Notes, Brandon, he came out here. He was like, you know Donovan Ruffin? I'm like, nah, but I keep hearing about him. He's like, you need to have him on the podcast, man. He a good person to have. Then he put out his phone. He showed me your Instagram pictures. I'm like, oh, man, like he doing dope stuff. And then ironically, it's crazy how the universe works. So Deanna, and my guy Tay, we was at Salt Bay's restaurant, Nurserette, and we sitting there, and I look up, and you was sitting right there.
I was there?
You was there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You was sitting right there. I'm like,
I remember that.
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
across from us.
Yeah.
Sitting at the table.
That was like the only and last time I'll go.
yeah. So you and I'm like, hey, that's the guy everybody been telling me about. But I'm not the type to interrupt somebody while they're having dinner, because when I'm having dinner, I want to be, you know what I'm saying, eating my dinner. So I'm like, this is a message from the world to me. Like, I need to finally reach out now. I seen him. I keep hearing about him. Let me reach out. So I reached out to him, and now he's on the show. So yeah, man, that was the story I had to tell. Man, I seen you at Salt Bay Restaurant. I looked up. I'm like, hey man, that's the dude. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna catch up with him later. So yeah, man. But like I said, we super excited to have you on the show, man. But for the people who may not be familiar with it, do you just mind giving some background on yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Donovan, originally born and raised in Toledo, Ohio, small outskirts, actually a small country town called Oregon. Ended up moving to Texas, finishing my senior year at high school down here, played a little sports. And then after I graduated high school, got into sales pretty heavy. And yeah, I mean, my entrepreneur blood just started juicing out of me when I got into sales initially when I was 18, and started growing in that. Ended up starting my own company doing that, and then eventually got into real estate, where I started buying and selling houses, and really started to grow that. And now I don't have my initial marketing company anymore. It's just 100% real estate now, and we're doing a couple hundred deals a year in Texas. So it's fun. It's exciting. I just had a baby.
Congrats.
Me and my fiance just had a baby, so it's our first one. It's so awesome, being a dad now. So life's the perspective of life is way different. It's crazy.
You mentioned entrepreneur blood. So like, were your parents entrepreneurs?
So my dad, he had like an entrepreneur run actually in real estate before the market crashed. And my grandpa, he was actually a VP. He was actually one of the first black VPs of a Fortune 100 company or Fortune 500 company way back in the day. So I've always had, experience seeing it from the outside looking in, and, I'm blessed to have, family members that, have that type of mindset to really instill belief in me, especially at a young age. So, but yeah, I guess, I would say there's like a science behind it or whatever, but it's, none of my siblings are entrepreneurs, none of my family members. I guess I was kind of like the only one that really enjoys being an entrepreneur.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah. Was entrepreneurship always the one and only thing for you, or did you have a turning point where that became what you wanted to do? Like, was there something else you were more focused on prior?
When I was I remember I grew up underprivileged, with my mom being single, and she had 4 kids by herself, and it was tough at times. And I remember when I was able to, do extra tasks for, family, friends and stuff like that, and start to make money. I was like, cool, I can, do jobs on the weekends and stuff like that, and I could make money hourly or whatever. And then as I got older, I started to see opportunities in things and electronics. So I used to, buy and sell electronics from iPhones to Xboxes. And I was actually making some good money when I was like 13 or 14 years old. I don't know if you guys remember, or you probably remember if you played Xbox, the 3 Rings of Death.
Yeah. You had to send it to Xbox.
Yeah, so I actually found a homie in town in Toledo who could fix it for like $25. So everybody was selling their 3 Rings of Death for like $25. I'd go buy them and then take it to him, and he'd fix it for $25. So it'd be like $50, $75 all in. I would just put it right back on Craigslist and flip it. So I started doing that. I started doing the same thing with iPhones, and then when I was 16, I started flipping cars. So the whole concept of bartering was really appealing to me when I was growing up, just because it felt a lot easier than sitting at a job for a long period of time versus, hey, I can make what I make in a whole day with one transaction. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, like the perspective of entrepreneurship came at a young age. And then when I was 18, when I was able to actually get like a 1099 sales job, I just took full advantage of it.
But it's extremely dope because it's funny how just yesterday I seen you was on your story and you was posting like your whole like entire
Yeah.
backstory and how you started, and that was extremely
Yeah,
dope.
it
Seeing
is.
like starting from, I love when we see people where they start somewhere and they build themselves up and they like in a completely 180 different position. So that was so dope
Yeah.
to see. So with you starting off, you said you got into sales first. Was that like how important was those skills and things you was learning in that sales position that's still helping you today?
Yeah, so I mean, it's crazy because you look at tasks now and it's just they don't really seem enjoyable and stuff like that. You
Right.
don't see why it's necessary or what have you. But I'm blessed to experience a lot of business attributes at a young age, especially in the position I was in, where I just I took it serious, because I was in a position where I didn't really have a lot of family members to help me. My sister ended up getting sick, so she needed extra help. She couldn't really work a full-time job, and something in my brain just clicked where it was just like, hey, you need to take this opportunity serious because you have an opportunity to not just help yourself but help somebody else.
Somebody
And
else.
that's what really motivated me. And then in the sales job I had opportunity to be in leadership where I could help other people in situations or what have you, but they could come in, make a bunch of money if they followed certain training guidelines and stuff like that. So it was super fulfilling to be able to experience that, and I just fell in love with the whole concept of business in general, and just kind of stuck with it.
Something I want to ask you is I've seen you talking about how you learned a lot of things or how to run a business at a very young age, and especially hearing like your history with all the different things that you've done. And I think I'm a firm believer that the earlier you start, the better, because that
Yep.
gives you plenty of opportunity to take a lot more risk and take a lot more chances on yourself and to recover from mistakes that you may make along the way.
Yep.
What did you go through any like big things throughout this time period that you feel like for you starting earlier helped you, have a better experience with it?
Oh, absolutely. That was like my model when I was young. It's so like a lot of people would like look at me. It's just like, you're crazy. Like, why would you, do this job, or why would you, buy this investment or whatever? And I was like, I'm young. What's the worst possible thing that could happen? The worst possible thing that could happen when you're young is you have time to recoup, just exactly what you said. So I took full advantage of that, especially when I was young. I didn't really have a lot of liability of expenses or anything like that. So I was able to, make sacrifice early on and make investments, and pile that up. And now looking back, I like sharing that story because if somebody has that opportunity to do that, it's better to start now versus wait, and then get into it. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, on top of that, it's just what I've learned, especially in business and not just working at a young age, but hiring people at a young age. I've learned that people that have that entrepreneur spirit, or not even that, but just being able to go out there and work without somebody telling you have to work makes a big difference. Because like I see it, it's just like it's hard to teach somebody how to be motivated to go to work if somebody's not pushing you to do it. It's easier to hire somebody where they were instilled in their brain while their brain was still developing, to go out there and be independent versus their parents just handing them everything. You know what I mean?
No, I love it. And at this point, you've done over 1,000 deals,
Yeah, real estate wise, yeah, a little over 1,000.
and that's crazy to be because you're 27 and done 1,000 deals. Like so, it just sounds crazy. Like what do you attribute that to? If you had to attribute to one thing, what would you attribute it to?
I would probably contribute it to leadership, to be honest. I couldn't do it by myself. I've tried to do it by myself for a lot of years, and I can only do so much. So I think being a leader in an aspect of business, and training people how to do it and putting other people on, put a lot of light on that success. Wow. I mean, it's really not a secret, It's just like, hey, can't do it alone.
No, it's impossible, especially at that level. 1,000 deals, that's fucking crazy. And the deals, are they like flip, like buying and flips, or?
Yeah, so it's we do pretty much everything. Single family, we do wholesale transactions, we do fix and flips, we do rentals, we do subject to transactions, and a couple other ones, but it's probably too confusing for the
right,
general
right.
audience. You know.
All right. And as a leader, let me ask you this: as a leader, like, how do you? What's the trick? Because I seen a video in like your office. Yeah, I was getting them like, they wasn't doing jumping jacks. It was some kind of activity they was doing. They was jumping and stuff. They was getting hyped and amped up, and it was dope to see. But like, what would you think is the biggest keys to get somebody to leading someone on a successful scale? Because it's not easy to do, especially when
Yeah.
it's a lot of people that you
Yeah.
lead.
You know, it has a lot to do when you're building a company. You know,
Right.
when you build a company, it has a lot to do with a lot of things. But to build a successful company, I think one of the major things that you need to build an environment where people are excited to go to work and they're not excited to go home. You know, they're showing up early, they're leaving late, they're working the weekends. In order to do that, you have to have a good culture. You know, for one, you have to have a good opportunity for people to come in and grow.
Exactly.
Because if you don't have an opportunity for somebody to come in and grow, they're only going to do so much and then look for something else, because that's just human nature. We just want to grow. You know, we want to do more than what we did previously, and that's just natural. That's just science. So, I mean, that's first and foremost, have the opportunity for people to come in and have the opportunity to grow in your company. But on top of that, build a culture where people enjoy being there, you know, and it's fun, not just like bullshitting around, but it's just like, you know, they enjoy working with their coworkers. You know, it's like a family environment, you know, where instead of, hey, I work for somebody, it's like we work together type.
Together.
Yeah.
With you being so young and having employees under you, did you ever struggle with like providing the appropriate leadership to them, or have any struggles with them accepting leadership from you?
You know, it's especially when I was younger, you know, that was never like an excuse in my brain. And from the people I surrounded myself with, it's just like, oh, they're not going to pay attention to me because I'm young or what have you. But it's really how you live by how you live, right? So if you have appropriate goals and you actually abide by those and you do what you say, people will take you serious, you know, especially when they can physically see that, because people can feel energy, you
Yep.
know. Anybody can say something, but it's another thing to physically do something. And when you can actually physically do something, that energy is just natural. So attracting people, especially people older than me, people sharper than me, people feel that energy and they know that whatever is going to happen, this guy's going to win, you know, just because, I mean, it's just 100% confidence, obviously, but when you have a direct path of where you're going, it's a lot easier to, you know, lead people.
I love that, and this is Millionaire Mindsets, and we love talking about the success and the money that people make and all stuff like that. But more importantly, I like to touch on the mindset, because I like for people to understand that, like, you're not going to get to the position you want to get to if you have the wrong mentality towards things. So I want to touch on, like, with you, like Deanna said, being so young and winning at such scale like that. Like, what's the like, just walk us through like a day-to-day schedule. Like, when you get up in the morning, like, what's your day-to-day like, and how are you thinking when you getting ready to move and go into things?
Well, to be honest, you know, I'll be honest with you guys. You know, my schedule now is a lot
Hectic.
different than when I was, you know, in the trenches. You know, just because I
Right.
have a lot more resources. I have you know, obviously I have leverage
Right.
in my life with not just money but a lot of time too. So I have a lot of time to myself to do tasks and focus on things, and you know, prepare and organize stuff. But to be honest with you, a lot of success in my personal life came from, you know, meditation, in a sense where it sounds lame, but, you know, I spend a lot of time with myself. You know, it takes a, it's crazy, but it's real life. You know, this is what I do. You know, I spend a lot of time with myself, like nobody. You know, I might be doing tasks and stuff like that, but there's a lot of times where I'm just there by myself, you know, convincing myself and visualizing what the future looks like. And so, you know, when it's time to do those work tasks, it's just easy and I know exactly what I want. You know what I mean? So back to the schedule, you know, now it's a lot different. You know, I don't work as much as I used to. You know, I'm blessed to have good leadership in my company now. So I took quite a bit of time off work, especially because we just had a baby. And to be honest, I probably go to the office maybe once or twice a week now. And, you know, I'm, you know, just trying to be the best dad.
I like that.
You know, so spending a lot of time with my baby, my fiance, and, and just really enjoying those moments.
That's funny because
what's
I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday, and I think this is also important for people to know. In the beginning, you have to work and put hella hours and energy into it in the beginning so you could build up and take that time off. Because like I said, I was talking to a friend yesterday, and he was telling me, he was like, man, I'm gonna be honest with you. He was like, I ain't really worked at all this year. He was like, I've been with my girl, just kicking it in love all year. But he was like, I made pretty much the same amount of money. He said, I made several $1,000,000 this year.
Yep.
And he was like, and I ain't really worked. And that's something like to get to that point. You have to, in the beginning, you have to go crazy. You have to put a shit ton of hours and things until you get to that point. So I want to just touch on that. And secondly, I like that you talked on that time alone, because this is something that I always speak about. I always talk about how the times when my life changed. Before that happened, it was a lot of time just by myself, like just thinking, like you said, thinking, meditating, visualizing, because when there's so much around you, so many people around you, it's hard to have that clarity mentally, you know what I'm saying? So like, do you mind just touching on that a little bit more, like that time alone and how important it is?
Yeah, I mean, I used to have like a real habit, especially like when I was in like the field, like in the trenches. Like I would spend probably an hour every single day. I would read for like 23 minutes. Then after that, I would take like a 15-minute nap, and then when I woke up, I would just visualize kind of what my goals were and like physically see it, like 100% convinced that this is what's about to happen. And it's just kind of, especially if you're in a position where you're struggling, you're hurting, you feel that pain. Nobody likes to feel pain. Like if you ever broke a bone, it's just like, man, what do I got to do to fix this? Like make this pain go away. You go to the doctor, what have you, but you're going to figure out a way to make it go away. You know what I mean? So it was kind of the same thing for me, is like, not having money, not having a lot of resources and stuff like that really motivated me to really figure out what I wanted. And then when I figured out what I wanted, I just literally needed instructions on how to go get it. You know what I mean? So everybody's different. I was never the type of person that needed like motivation,
Right,
quote unquote. I just needed instructions. Like show me exactly how to get there, and then I won't ask you for anything else. Like I won't waste your time. Just give me the blueprint,
right,
and I'll go get it. You know what I mean? And that's just kind of my philosophy and what I live by.
I really like that, especially the point about motivation, because I feel like with entrepreneurship and with it being so popular in today's world, a lot of people struggle because they're always seeking out the motivation to do it in so many different shapes and forms. And I feel like that kind of hinders a lot of people because they're just so like, oh, I need this to keep me motivated, this, that, and the third. And you said like all you need is instruction, all you need is the blueprint that can keep you going. So for people out there who may be having those struggles with the motivation, like what advice would you give them?
Man, I would probably say not like intentionally put yourself in a situation, but I would say you really have to reevaluate why you're working and what you're doing, just because once you really figure out what your purpose in not only life but in business is, you might not be even doing the same thing that you're doing now,
That's a fact.
And it's crazy because for me personally, it switched when I realized I can make a lot of money by myself, but it really changed for me when it was like life or death for my family member. Like my sister was having non-epileptic seizures. Like she had to, take medicine. She couldn't pay her bills. She couldn't work full time just because she would stress out. So I physically had to step in and make things happen and make things shake. And when my bills were paid or whatever, what was next. But I was so much more motivated when I was in that situation, just because I wasn't just gonna fall off into the deep end and not do anything about it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And then it grew even more, and have more responsibility and team members and stuff like that. It just changed completely 360 when my fulfillment changed, and I was less selfish, and I started thinking about other people and how I could help them versus myself. And
That's a
to
bar.
be honest, if you look at all the CEOs in the world, it's just it's a lot of similar in a lot of ways. It's, for one, obviously you can't do it by yourself, but a majority of these people don't do it for themselves. They do it for the aspect to change a certain environment or change the world. You know what I mean?
That's 100%. No, that's facts. You look at any interview, even from the people that we've interviewed, it's from a mentality where I'm trying to impact this. I want to help this person, or I want to change this industry in this way, kind of thing. And that's what changes. So, but you spoke on earlier about blueprints, saying like all you needed was the blueprint and instructions. So I want to ask you, like, who was that person that gave you that blueprint, and how did you find them? And not only how did you find them, how did you communicate with this person where they would want to give you that blueprint? Because there's so many
Yep.
people. I get a million DMs.
Yeah, it's like
How
how
do I-
mentorship. Like, how do I do this?
Exactly.
See, like, let me be honest with you guys again. You know, it wasn't like a specific person. I don't even think it was a person at all. I really believe it was experience. You know, and yeah, I mean, people can give you experience and provide opportunities to get that experience and gain it. But the reality of it is just like, especially if you really want to grow where it wasn't possible before. Once you surpass what somebody else did, what's next? You know, you start what do you call it? Pioneering different avenues that didn't exist, and that's where real growth happens. Where you're in a position where there's not too many people you could ask advice from. You know, that's when you start seeing the real success, because you've reached a threshold where you are able to solve problems that nobody else was able to figure out. So for me personally, I really think it was experience. And yeah, you can learn from people and figure out the dynamics and like the general aspect of going about things. But at the end of the day, it was all experience. You know, just physically doing things and learning from mistakes.
I love it. And then at this point, how many deals are you closing like monthly?
So we close on monthly on average about 45 right now. 45
You closing
deals a
45
month.
deals a month?
Yeah.
What the?
Yeah.
Yo, what? How you like? How are you doing it?
Well, I mean, for one, yeah, I'm blessed to have a great team, and I mean, it's me. You're looking at me. I'm obviously the CEO of the company, but there's a lot of people in the trenches, like right now, you know, that we're given opportunities for, and you know, to come in and provide for their family an awesome business. But I mean, the reality of it is, you know, we're talking to a lot of people, we're impacting a lot of people. You know, a lot of people are in tough situations where, you know, they have to sell the house, they have to get out of situations, and we have investors that have all this cash they want to invest, or they want to buy into assets and things of that nature. So there's different problems. There's different problems in different categories, right? So what we learned is we learned how to connect them. So we were able to find the people with the problems in single family where they had these issues and they had to get out of these properties. They can't find anybody to finance it because it needs a lot of work, things of that nature. And then on top of that, you know, we were able to leverage our competition because we built the backside of it where we're able to find investors that were able to pay top dollar for properties, hedge funds that were, I mean, we're talking Wall Street hedge funds to come in and like overpay for properties in situations. Right. And so we're able to pick up their deals, not just our own deals, but their deals too, and then, you know, sell it on the backside to, you know, cash buyers, hedge funds, investors and things of that nature. And on top of that, even the retail buyer, somebody wants to come in and buy the house and live there.
That's a shit ton of deals. Are they all in Texas?
Yeah, majority, like 95% of them are in Texas.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously you live here, so that's a big reason. But why not venture into like other markets, other states?
So, you know, we've beta tested. We still beta test different markets. It's just how our system works, and kind of what I've learned is it when you're training salespeople and the training modules and stuff like that, it's so much easier to just stay within a certain region versus it is to just be scattered all over the place. So with my experience, it was a lot easier to train our team on a specific region, which just happens to be, like, if you look at like time zones, right? Every time zone is different. I see that as a region, right? So when we grow and we beta test markets, we beta test up. But fortunately in Texas, you know, the money's here, right? So there's the more north you get, for whatever reason, it's just the less the bag is. So there's so many people in Texas, we haven't even scratched the surface. I mean, that's why we're focusing just on Texas, is because, you know, we're just getting started. You know, there's millions and millions and millions and millions of people that we even talk to. You know what I mean? So why would I go over here and venture into this other market when the bag's right here? You know what I mean?
Makes sense. And Texas has an amazing market right now.
Yeah, I mean, every market's great. You know, I mean, there's rock star killers in every single market. But you know, I'm good at this market. You know, I understand this market, and my team understands that too. So when we scale and grow, we're just gonna stick to where we know best. But I mean, the future's the future. You know, we're gonna get there. You know, we're just not gonna overdo ourselves and expand too fast.
Something I want to ask you on the lines of real estate, because I see from what I've seen, what you've talked about is a big component of your real estate business is the marketing. Like you talk about that a lot and how important it is. Would you mind giving us like what would you say are the fundamentals of real estate marketing for people out there who want to, you know, perfect their craft and grow their
That's a
business?
good ass question.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, marketing is everything. So, not only that, brand too, right? So, like brand awareness and stuff like that, making sure people know who you are. But right now, what's working for us is cold calling. We're doing a lot of online ads where people, you know, are Googling, hey, I want to sell my house fast or whatever. They're seeing our website. We're utilizing our competition a lot, so we're throwing a lot of events, doing podcasts, stuff like that. A lot of brand awareness where, you know, people can send us deals because we purchase a lot, we can sell a lot. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, direct to seller marketing, mostly cold call, SMS, RVMs, voice broadcasts. I don't know if you guys know what all that stuff is.
Yeah.
If you're a real estate person, you might.
We've been investing in real estate since 2018, right?
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. We ain't in the trenches like you. You really in the trenches. Yeah. But go ahead.
I just want to ask you on something. You said events. Can you go into that a little more? Like, how can that be valuable for marketing your real estate business?
Yeah. So what we do, or what we learned is, we used to sponsor these events, like other people's events and stuff like that, and people would see us. But it's literally like a commercial for the industry, especially in the real estate investing space. So after sponsoring so many events, it's just like, hey, let's throw our own event. And that's kind of what we did. So now we throw, it's called The Event. It's here in Dallas at the Virgin Hotel. We have it once a quarter. We have, I don't know, anywhere from 12 to 1,500 people come out. And we just, same way we market to sellers, we market to people that are in the real estate space, real estate agents, title companies, investors, wholesalers, like everybody. And we invite them all out. We have it for free. We charge companies to come sponsor it. We're able to pay for the hotel. And it works. It's like a commercial for our business.
Yeah, it's dope. I've been to when it was a couple months back. I couldn't stay for long. As soon as I got there, I had to leave. But it was really.
Oh, you
dope.
came to one of the events?
Yeah. Cool. This was about, I don't know. I want to say about 3-4 months ago, probably.
How'd you hear about it?
How did I hear about it? I think a friend might have told me. I know the one you just had. I found out about that one because I kept getting the text messages.
Really?
It was like The Event. Make sure you're. I'm like, first I was like, hold on, what kind of? Because it's called The Event. Yeah. So when you see it, it's like, what event? Yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's dope. But you see, I got a lot of text messages about that one. But the first one I went to, a friend told me about it. Yeah. Yeah. And that's
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, now that we got your data, you might want to change your phone number. That's funny.
No, that's I had something else I want to talk about. And you talked about branding and marketing. And this is extremely important because I think I see so many people today, and like I said, this is super important to touch on. I feel like they want the tons of followers and all the kind of the notoriety without realizing that to get to that point where you have hella followers and notoriety, you have to do a lot of work in whatever your industry is in. And with you, like, it's evident. Like, you did a lot of work. You've done 1,000 deals, but it shows in your branding. And it's not like some people just try to pop up and just want 50, 100,000 followers without having done shit in their industry. So I want you to just touch on, like, the branding and marketing is cool, but you really got to put that work in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, man, you can't, it's impossible to buy impact. You can't buy influence.
You can't.
You can't. It's just like you can buy followers, likes, or whatever, but that's cute until it's time to, actually impact people in real life, right? Yep. So, but yeah, you hit it right on the head. We'd done a lot of deals. In order to do that many deals, we had to really make an impact in a lot of people's lives and a lot of people's businesses. Like, we really do this business, right? So it's just like, I mean, I made a post like maybe 2-3 years ago where it's just like I literally made a list of all the people that get paid in every single real estate transaction every time it closes, and it's crazy. Anywhere from title companies, insurance companies, investors, to contractors, to Home Depot. I mean, tenants. You got brokers, agents. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So when you're doing a lot of deals, people start to pay attention, right? Well, I mean, they start to talk, right? So it's just like, yeah, I've done a deal with him, But on top of that, it's just like when you can go into somebody's life or meet somebody and really make a difference in their life without asking for anything in return, that also makes a difference. You know, when you're able to be in a situation where you can help somebody and be in a position where you don't have to ask for anything, like I want nothing, also makes a big difference.
Right.
You know, so having that experience where people can come ask questions or whatever, and you're able to answer and it really makes an impact, you know, they're going to thank you, you know, they're going to remember you, they're going to appreciate you, you know. So, I mean, there's no exact blueprint on how you can go out there and make an impact or an influence in whatever organization you're in, but, you know, you have to have goals, you know, to impact people. I mean, you guys are making an impact with this podcast, you know. I mean, how many listeners do you got to, you know? How many people want to pay you to be, you know, go on and on and on. But it comes with the work. You guys are here. You guys are putting the work in, and you guys are actually doing the business. So,
man, that's powerful. Like the work, I can't stress this point enough. Like the work. That's everything. Like obviously, if you really want to be on social media and document and gain followers, obviously documentation is important, but you can't document shit if you ain't working.
Exactly. If you ain't doing nothing, people aren't gonna pay attention.
Exactly.
You know, if you ain't out here making progress, people aren't gonna be paying attention. You know, if you don't have any intentions to help anybody, people aren't gonna care.
Exactly. Man. And
So, I was just going to say, I'll also add on to that with all this hard work. I think because of what I've been seeing from your story is that you put in all this hard work, but it has to get to a point where I'm not working harder, I'm working smarter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'll also throw that in there. Is that you got to remember that's the end goal too. We don't want to work hard like this forever.
exactly.
Yeah, it's like, man, I had one of my friends, and he's just like, it clicked for me a couple years ago. He's like, man, you could go mop floors and be the hardest worker mopping floors. Well, how far can you go?
Still.
How far can you go? You know? So yeah, when I touched on earlier, it's like that's what made a big difference in my business, in my life, was just the leadership standpoint. I got really good at being a good leader, and all of a sudden I started gaining more time. I started being able to impact more people. I started making more money. It's crazy, you know? So now I don't have to work as much. I can work a lot less, but when I do have to work, as long as my leadership is top notch at all times, you know, you can't take that away from me. You know, it's not going anywhere, regardless of where the market goes.
And there's always, speaking of leadership, there's always the debate on, can you make someone be a leader, or are leaders just born leaders? So in your opinion, are leaders made or are leaders born?
I think leaders are developed. It's kind of like, I mean, you see girls with big butts, right? You can go buy a big butt, but you're going to notice, right? It's different when you go work for it.
Exactly.
You know
That's
what I'm
facts.
saying? So it's the same. I mean, I know it's like a weird way to
No, but that's
give an
a good
example of
analogy. That's a good analogy.
Easy to
trust me.
understand.
Yeah,
That's a
it's-
good analogy.
So it doesn't matter what situation you were born in, what you went through, what color your skin is, what your race, what your religion is, man, it doesn't matter. Anybody can develop leadership skills if you make that commitment, if you desire to be a better leader. You know, if you have no desire to be a better leader, like for what? Why would I be a good leader? Whatever. I know a lot of people like that. They still do good for themselves. They just don't want to, you know, mess with anybody else or whatever.
That's a fact.
You know, it's just it is what it is.
Is there a difference between a leader and a boss?
Man, I never really broke it down like that. I mean, when talking definitions and stuff, but I mean, I think there's a big difference between being a manager and being a leader.
What's the difference?
Managers are appointed, leaders are earned. So you earn your leadership. You know, you can't be forced into a position where you have to be led by me, right? It's optional, right? In my company, you can go work anywhere, you know, but they choose to work at our company because we have good leadership. You know, they know that their leaders are going to put them in positions at all time to win. That's it.
I love it. And so are you just doing wholesaling deals, or are you buying too and keeping them as a?
Yeah, so we're buying a lot. Man, we kind of slowed down on doing a lot of fix and flips just because, I mean, every winter it kind of slows down a little bit, but we'll pick back up in the spring. We are buying a lot of buy and holds, and we're looking for apartment complexes now. Mostly, to be honest, it's just for tax purposes, just because I was, you know, in a position where IRS, you know, they want their money, and it's very, very humbling when they come knocking. So, you know, now it's time to humble up and, you know, put my money in areas where I can write it off.
So at this point, if you mind sharing this, you don't have to if you don't want to. How many units does your company own at this moment?
So we don't own a lot. So single family wise, we own like 12.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, and to be honest with you, that's kind of why we're, we're focused on doing more of multifamily is just because, the amount of time and effort and resources it takes to get one house is very similar for multifamily, but we can buy a bunch at one time. It's just like if it takes, like in order for me not to pay taxes, if I have to go buy 50 units, I can go buy 50 houses, but is it easier to go buy 50 houses or is one apartment complex that has 100 units? You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I mean, it changes, and everybody's in a different position, but, for us, we never really focused on cash flow just because we thought that was stupid.
Really?
Yeah, it was just not inspiring, right? It's like, why would I want to make $200 a month on a house when I can make 30 grand right now? You know what I mean?
That's
Yeah. So I was like, like I was talking to all the old heads and stuff like that, and like mentors, and he's like, you got to buy it whole.
No.
Like that's retarded. Why would I do that? Like,
No, what's funny is like the older I get, it's funny how like my mentality towards that is switching because I used to like when I first got into real estate, I was like, all right, buy and hold, buy and hold, buy and hold. But then as you get older, you like it makes sense if I could get 30, 40, 50,000 check and I keep doing that.
Yeah.
I feel like that strategy is best when you still like young and build. I feel like the buy and hold strategy, no offense to anybody, I feel like it's for people that's already like old that don't have much opportunity for more risks.
well, man, now I'm motivated to buy them so I don't have to pay
Right.
taxes. Now I understand
Now
what
you
the
got
old
the money,
heads,
right?
Yeah, now I understand what the old heads are saying. But not only that, man, yeah, it did humble me. I look back and I see houses I sold years ago and what it appreciated to now, and I was like, man, yeah, I collected that 25 grand, but I could have made 125 grand in equity.
Yep.
And I didn't need the money. I
Yep.
just wanted it so I could go ball out and do whatever.
But I think it still worked in your favor though, because when you coming from a position where you don't have many resources or capital,
Yep.
it's like you need to find the quickest way for
Yep.
me to make capital,
Yep.
and that strategy is good. Then when you got
Exactly.
the capital, you take that money and then you start buying hoes. Just
Yep.
let that. And the tax advantages of real estate. Like, do you mind just talking about that for a second, just for the people that may not know? The crazy tax advantages you have when you become a real estate investor.
Oh yeah, big time, man. And yeah, it's like you learn things over time. But just like I was saying, not only do you get tax advantages, but you get the appreciation there too. But
Right.
like, let's just say, for example, you make $100,000 just for easy math net, and that's what your income is. So you owe 30, or I don't know what the percentage, 30% to the IRS, and there's different levels to it. So for every unit you buy, you can write off to have what you call tax depreciation on assets in real estate. So, I mean, it depends on the purchase price and stuff like that. But, like, for example, like if I go buy a $200,000 house, get a loan on it from the bank or whatever, refinance, I can write off $30,000 just by not selling that asset, by keeping it. So now that same $100,000 now to the government, it looks like I made $70,000. So I
Right.
pay taxes on $70,000, right? So if you go out and buy, 5 of those, now all of a sudden you don't have to pay any taxes, right?
Yep.
So not only that, but you get the appreciation too, you get the cash flow, stuff like that. So, but yeah, you want to balance it well, right? So, you don't want to be in a position where you don't have cash flow, but then again, you don't want to be in a position where you don't have capital either, So,
Right.
but I mean, my strategy for a lot of years is just reinvest as much as I can into marketing. I think that's what really helped me scale is because, I took all that money and the majority of it I put back into the business. I put, recruiting and training and hiring people, investing into people and investing into marketing and things of that nature. And I would put a majority of it back. So, when you look at the net income, a majority of it went back into the business, even though I still have cash receivables, right? That makes sense.
That makes sense. Go ahead, D. I see you wanted to say something.
Real estate is definitely the cheat code, but I wanted you to touch on this because in your stories you mentioned that you've sold $1 million company, and we haven't had a chance to touch on it yet this episode. So I want you to go into that, explaining what that company was and what brought you to the decision to sell it, because a lot of people would have definitely struggled with making that decision.
Yeah, so it's funny that you said that because I didn't sell it.
Oh, you didn't sell it?
No, I shut it down.
Oh, you shut
damn.
it down.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, one of the mistakes I made in business was shutting a company down. I could have easily sold it. My dumb ass was like, fuck it, I quit,
Oh, okay.
Oh, man.
That changes things.
Yeah.
It's a
So,
lesson in everything. So it's good. It's good.
yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, we're making a lot of money, but, fulfillment is kind of what I was looking at. I wasn't, fulfilled in what I was doing. Could kind of see it's just like it wasn't very inspiring for me to keep doing the same thing, especially 5 years from now, from that time frame. So, I see it as a sacrifice. I sacrificed something in order to have something greater. And there's a lot of people out there that have regular jobs and doing real estate on the side or whatever, and they're looking for like that push. Well, I'm here to tell you, man, I sacrificed $1 million company to go full time, right? So could you sacrifice your 9 to 5 to go full time if you have the opportunity to? I would definitely say quit what you're doing and take full advantage while it's still here. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So, but yeah, I mean, I was in a position where I shut it down. Like we just stopped operating, but we transitioned the majority of our people into real estate, and obviously we couldn't hold everybody for years or whatever. So we gave everybody the opportunity. It's like, hey, start looking for other jobs and stuff. We have no intentions to fire you, but if you want to come in with us, you're welcome.
And that's a good leader
That's a
right
good
there,
way
because
to do it.
and that's a good leader. Just because I've heard, I'm not gonna say the name, but I've heard of a business recently that just shut down, and they knew they were shutting down for a while, and they didn't let any of their employees know, and the employees found out, showed up to work, it wasn't shit there.
Yeah,
That's bad leadership.
Man, that's crazy because we're actually, it's funny that you said that. We're looking for, new office space right now. And we went to go look at this space, and it was like a full-blown company. I was like, yeah, I'm just here to look at the office. He's like, look at the office. Am I still going to have a job? I'm like, oh, snap.
Oh,
But
damn.
yeah, there's companies that do that. I mean, it's just, I don't know, man. I don't know how people live. I mean, I guess that's why a lot of people kill themselves. But, I'm in business not just for myself, but I'm in business for my people too, So it's just like, what was your real purpose from the get-go?
No,
Exactly.
seriously, that's crazy, man. But like, I love to speak on leadership, because this is so important, especially when you talk about real estate, because especially with the wholesaling and stuff like that,
Yeah.
all that stuff, especially because there's so many people today, they want to wholesale, they want to build a wholesale company, but they may not realize being a great leader is going to be one of the key things to get you to making 7 figures, 8 figures,
Yeah.
especially when we're in real estate, because real estate is a relationship-based industry. You have to have
Exactly.
good relationships with people or shit. Once your name is dirt in real estate, it's like,
Yeah.
good luck.
Yeah.
Cause
Yeah.
good luck, because it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard to get people that want to work with you for real.
Oh yeah, that's very true, man. It's like your brand, your personal brand, your business brand means so much, especially in real estate. But the reality of it is, a lot of people think they can come in and do whatever, but it's just like, hey, what's the worst that could happen? But there's a lot of worse things that could happen. Especially when you're a selfish dumbass. So.
Man, what?
But yeah, you can make a lot of money wholesaling, but if you really want to scale, you gotta focus on the actual business standpoint of it, and treat it like a business versus just I'm here to make some money and do whatever. Yeah, people. I know a lot of people that are wholesaling that they know they're not gonna wholesale forever. It's a great opportunity to build capital and do what your real passion is. That's kind of what I did with my last company. I was like, I knew I wasn't going to do it forever, but I knew I did it so I could build capital, so I could, do different things in business.
I want to ask you, do you think wholesaling is a good long-term business without any other form of investing in real estate? Because I know a lot of people say wholesaling is a great driver for the business, but you should start investing at some point in time. But do you think it's sustainable by itself?
Yeah, it can be, but you definitely want to invest in different, and have different streams of income, just because, real estate is 100% driven by the market. It's kind of like stocks. The cool thing about wholesaling is there's not a lot of risk, it's just like you put stuff under contract with option period. There's not a lot of risk involved, especially not investing a lot of cash into it. So it's a great opportunity for people to get in and not just build capital, but to learn the aspects, the contracts, the laws, and the dynamics of real estate in general. But I think it's super important to have goals set in mind to, put some capital aside and invest it somewhere else.
And me, I love doing scenarios just because I feel like it's extremely relatable and applicable to somebody that could be in that situation right now. So let's say somebody watching this, They're listening to this. They want to become a wholesaler, want to get in the real estate industry, but they could be probably where you was at when you first started. Little to no capital or resources. What do you think some steps they could take immediately to put some capital in their pocket and just keep it going, keep that train moving?
Yeah, I mean, like, are you saying to gain capital through, like, to get into real estate?
Yep.
Man, it's crazy because you asked me the same question, you know, a couple years ago. I'd be like, go get a sales job, make some money, and invest it into marketing. And I'm here to be honest with you. You know, there's a lot of people say you could do it with no money, no whatever. But the reality of it is, you know, you need money. You need time, especially if you want to do it quick. Because it doesn't take a lot. You know, you're only talking a couple $1,000s to, you know, come across a deal that can make you 15, 20. But, you know, I'm not the type of guy to sit here and say, just go knock doors and stuff like that, just because I was never that person to go out there and do it. So I don't have experience. So I can't give somebody advice in an area that I'm not familiar with, because I was the person that was making the initial investing in marketing to make the deals happen. If that makes sense. Now, granted, yeah, there's ways you can go knock pre-foreclosures with equity, you know, put them under contract and find a buyer, but, you know, how much time is that going to take you?
Right.
I mean, the reality is I think it's a lot easier to go get a sales job, make the money, and then put it into marketing, and I think that would be a lot easier,
Okay.
to be honest.
So I only got 2 more questions for you, and this one is losses, because some on a journey, people have, especially when you get on social media, people just see the result and they think, man, he just had the smoothest, most perfect ride on his way to where he is now, and they don't realize that's not true. It's always, I feel like losses is like a it's like a what's the term? I can't think of the term right now. It's like a rite of passage for real.
Yeah.
Like you have to go through some L's to get to where you at. So from your experiences, what are some of the biggest losses you had, and how did you bounce back from it?
Yeah, well, I would probably say my first big loss was shutting my company down. One of my second losses, you know, I bought a fix and flip. I lost like $30,000 on it. That was super humbling, but after that happened, you know, I was more strict and I paid attention to more things. So I think it was something that was necessary in order for me to you know, look at deals and evaluate them a little better, especially when you're investing your own money into it and other people's money. And then after that, you know, I think one of my biggest losses was not paying attention. You know, I was not only not paying attention, but, you know, not being, you know, the best leader. Personally, you know, there was a lot of people that were in my company that had a lot of potential and that were really sharp, and, you know, me not being the best leader and being selfish at the time, you know, they went elsewhere. But on top of that, you know, I had, you know, leaders in my company that, you know, essentially stole. And yeah, you can blame people or whatever, but me as a leader, I took full responsibility for it. And, you know, that was another loss, because it wasn't just money that I lost, but, you know, I lost a lot of time, lost a lot of relationships with certain individuals by not being a good leader, not paying attention. Man, I lost a lot of time. You know, it's just, there was a lot of opportunities to go out, you know, and party and stuff like that. But, you know, I was out in the streets laying bandit signs. You know, there's a lot of opportunity for me to just do nothing, even though I could. I was on the phones. You know, there's a lot of opportunity. I could spend time with my family, my mom. You know, there was like a whole year I didn't see my mom just because I was working so much, literally traveling, and it was hard to connect. But, you know, it was a lot more fulfilling when, or it sucked when you know, my mom would send me pictures of her hands bleeding because she'd be working so hard, like literally. And, you know, she used to work at these refineries in Toledo. And, you know, that was humbling. You know, it was like, man, like that's crazy. Like you worked all these years doing this for us. And it was really cool because eventually she didn't have to work anymore. You know, I retired my mom years ago, and she never had to worry. She doesn't have to worry about money ever again in her entire life, you know? So I think it's important to, you know, understand that you have to make sacrifices in order to succeed. And it's literally biblical. You look in the Bible and read about blessings.
Yep.
What'd you bring to the pedestal?
Yep.
You know, you got to bring your best item, you know, every time. In order, if you bring your best one, God's going to give you something better.
God's gonna give you something better. Yep.
You know what I mean?
You said you retired. You only 27. You said you retired your mom years ago. So how old was you? How old was you when you retired your mom?
Man, it was like 4 years ago.
Wow,
4
you
years
retired
ago.
your mom at 23?
Yeah, I was like 23.
Whoa.
And yeah, it's just like works now, but she doesn't have to like work
She
a
don't have
full-time
to.
job,
Right.
stuff like that. She just does it because she's bored, you know. She was doing like FEMA and stuff like that. I don't think they know that we're doing a podcast.
Right.
But
It's all
being
good. It's
real.
all good. It's all good.
It happens.
It's all good. And you talked about one thing real quick. You talked about sacrifices because I feel like I want to get people to understand something. You said that while people was out partying, you was out putting band signs, and you through all that time. Now, at this point you at right now, do you feel like you missed out on anything?
No.
And the reason I'm asking this is because I tell people all the time, I'm like, if you don't go to the club, you don't kick it, you don't do all this right now, I'm telling you, 5-10 years from now, you're not going to regret it. You're not going to be like, damn, I wish I would have went to the club more. I don't know anybody personally that's successful that said, damn, I wish I would have went to the club more back in the day. You know what I'm saying?
People look back, it's like, why did I go to the club so much?
Exactly. I seen the reverse, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like 2017, it's crazy. I went like this rabbit hole yesterday, going through like all these memories because I saw one picture. But my CPA like really humbled me because I spent like over 6 figures just on bottle service, like literally Concrete Cowboy, $100,000 at Concrete Cowboy here in Dallas. And I was like,
I know
man.
they love you.
And then I think it was like a year after that, or maybe a year and a half, 2 years, they changed the law where you couldn't write off, bars and restaurants. So I was like, whatever. But yeah, it's just like, why did I spend all that money
Why
at
you
the
spend
club? Like, that was stupid, you know? But, I didn't have kids back then, too. It's just like, if I were to look at it now, if I would have had kids when I was in the trenches, I would have had to sacrifice some of that time so you could live a better life. So I start feeling for a lot of parents, especially single parents, that have to make those sacrifices away from their children, because it was hard for me to even come to this podcast because I was leaving my son,
Exactly.
I was late because I was with my son. I was like, dang, it's crazy. I gotta hit homie up. I was like, bro, he ain't asleep yet. I'm gonna wait till he goes to sleep. So,
Deanna, you can wrap it up with the last question.
Yeah, I just want to ask you because you talked about you had a loss on a flip. And I know a lot of people, one of the biggest things they try to do for their flips is raise capital. But if they were to have a loss and they have other people's money on the line, how does that fall back on them? Like, what are they liable for?
to give them the money back.
So even if they don't have it at all, like they have to still find some way to pay back their investors?
Yeah, that either file bankruptcy, and good luck raising
Who
money
wants
again.
to do that? Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you lose somebody else's money, you might as well see it as like a death sentence or jail time, to be honest. You don't play with other people's money. I mean, you can lose your own money.
But other people,
Like,
nope.
yeah, like, I mean, that deal, we had, private money. Somebody gave us money to buy the house and fix it up, and we still lost. So I had to come out of my own pocket and pay to close on that house. So at closing, I had to sell the house and bring money to sell it, to close it, so the investor could get his
that
money
hurt.
back, But I still use that investor to this day, know. He saw that. He saw that I would make that sacrifice. That's what it came down to, and he won my respect. So
Save the relationship.
right, not save the relationship. I think it developed the relationship
Developed
because,
Sacrifices early so you can live free later. Like you said, he only 27, y'all. Y'all watch this, y'all see. So if you young, you 20, 21, 22, just make those sacrifices, which I don't even really think they sacrifice. If you really about your business and want to live a free life, you got to do this anyway. You like he said, like I'm saying, you ain't missing shit out here. You're not going to, whatever you think you can do now, you missing out on, you still be able to do later if you want to do that later on. So.
yeah. But work too, man. It's just like takes a certain amount of effort. It's just not handed to you. I always say you want to make more money, you're gonna have more responsibilities. It's gonna cost you more time, more work, more effort, so on and so forth. So.
Man, and that's perfect, man. I just want to say, man, I really appreciate you taking the time to come out, your busy schedule, chilling with your son, fiance, to come rock with us on the show, man. We really, really
Absolutely.
appreciate you.
I enjoyed it.
We're gonna have to do this
Thanks
again.
for having me.
We're gonna do this again, man. I feel like we got a lot more than we could touch on, man. So we definitely have to make sure we do this again. But before we let you go, do you mind then plugging all your stuff where people can find you, follow you, everything you got going on? Plug it.
Yeah, if you guys are looking to sell a house, you're a wholesaler, whatever, we buy houses, we can move the property. If you have apartment complexes, let us know. Follow me on Instagram, the Donovan Ruffin, Facebook, Donovan Ruffin. If you're here in the Dallas area, we have an event once a quarter come out. It's called The Event. It's a real event. Xavier made it out.
right.
Xavier might be at the next one.
Yeah, I'm gonna be there, bro. I'm gonna be there.
So yeah, I mean, if you guys got questions regarding anything, Instagram is probably the best way to contact me. You know, that's like the one thing I didn't outsource. I have assistants and VAs working on my other social media, but Instagram I still reply personally. So if it's worth replying to.
Definitely, y'all tap in with them. And before we wrap up, you guys can find me on all platforms at Xavier C. Miller. And you can find a podcast, Married Our Mindsets, on all platforms as well. And D, what's your info?
And you can find me on Instagram at Deanna Kent, Twitter, Deanna S. Kent. And guys, don't forget you can purchase Xavier's Crypto Guide at www.guidetocrypto.com.
That's right.
You
You always
forget every
looking out. That's all we got for y'all. Appreciate y'all tuning in for another episode of Married Our Mindsets podcast. See you guys next episode. Peace.
Gotta get your brain right if you're trying to make $1 million. If you ain't gonna do it for yourself, then do it for your mama. Only stay surrounded by them people if you know they solid. Elevate your hustle up today to double up your profit. Trying to learn some game, Xavier gonna talk about it. No Deanna, speak that that everybody vouching. Ain't no more excuses valid. Get up off the couch and get up in your bag. To your bank account, need an accountant.